invite the class president, Michael Hurm, to the podium. Woo!
Boy, is this year been bumpy. So, it's a Sacred Heart tradition that the senior class president submits a safe speech to administration, then reads their own speech at graduation. I would like to continue that tradition today. Good evening. This day is very unexpected. First, I'd like to thank the graduation committee who has put this special day together. Their dedication and hard work has not gone unnoticed. I want to thank Mrs. Galatano and Mrs. Deegan for all they've done with our college process. Mrs. Marston for really stepping up and showing us how committed you are to us and to the school. I'd like to thank the teachers and faculty for being so supportive, understanding, and flexible during our sudden transition to remote learning. And Mr. Goris, hopefully this final speech makes up for that paper I still owe you. The coaches who have been such great mentors for all of us, the parents for giving us the opportunity to attend Sacred Heart, and for being there when we needed you most. And on behalf of today's graduates, I would like to send a special thanks to extended family and friends who are watching online due to safety restrictions. Hi, Uncle Coca. Thank you to my sister Elizabeth for always being there for me, for helping me behind the scenes with all of the homeschool videos, and for being such a great friend. I also want to apologize for setting such extremely high expectations for you. Thank you, Coach Hurm, for not only coaching me on how to grow as an athlete, but for teaching me how to become a better version of myself, and for being such an amazing role model for all of your players. I especially want to thank Mrs. Hurm for not only being my mom, but also a mother figure for so many students in the Sacred Heart community. And last but not least, I'd like to thank you, the class of 2020, including the international students who couldn't be here today. So where did my Sacred Heart journey begin is the question that I'm sure is going through Mrs. Bulger's head right now. Don't worry, Mrs. Bulger, I'll tell you and everyone else wondering. My cousins went to Sacred Heart years before me, and my mom was a substitute at the elementary school. My first year at Sacred Heart was in kindergarten. Ironically, our class was the first class in the brand new ECC. My cousin Gina was a 5th grader at the time, and I often found myself tagging along with her and her friends at the after-school pickup. I later learned that her friends were not my girlfriends. I was only allowed to stand with the 5th graders because Gina and I were getting picked up together. As school went on, I grew older, not taller, but older. Each year, some of my friends went to other schools while new friends came in. But one thing never changed, and that was Sacred Heart. I loved suiting up every Saturday to represent my school in those purple soccer jerseys. And I'm still pretty upset that they changed the color. Maybe someday, will have the chance to change it back to purple, which is Sister Ann Teresa's favorite color. When I got to high school, like most Sacred Heart 7th graders, I was in shock. Keep in mind, I was at best 5 feet even, and probably 90 pounds soaking wet, walking the halls with kids like Nick Weir, who seemed 7'3" to me. I managed, however, and I got by, spending a lot of my time building a popsicle stick tower in Mr. Macy's class, which at the end of the day taught me not to be in a building during an earthquake, and that I was not going to become an architect. I always felt like I was a leader. I was always one of the smartest kids in the baseball field, being the coach's kid since I was born. I knew all the positions, where everyone should be on every single play. But how can middle school Mikey Hurm tell a senior a grown man with facial hair who drove himself to school every day where they were supposed to be in a play. To be honest with you, I had no idea. One of the cool things about Sacred Heart is that middle schoolers have the chance to play sports with older kids. I took that opportunity to not only play with the upperclassmen, but to learn from them. By the time I was a freshman, I was growing. Still not physically, but as a leader. However, I still wasn't very vocal. Knowing I would struggle to be heard and not big enough to be dominant, I decided to lead by example. I made sure that I was the first one at practice and the last to leave. As a freshman infielder, I led the baseball team in fielding percentage, showing me and hopefully my teammates that hard work pays off. Sophomore year, I worked even harder and noticed my teammates also working harder. I was a little bigger, a little more vocal, but was still too young to be a captain. However, I didn't care about the title. I made it a priority to outwork everyone, each and every day. That season, I helped lead the Sacred Heart baseball team to its first Mayflower League championship since 1994. That is a long time, especially if you spent most of those years with losing records. We had 4 league all-stars that year. Senior Nick Fantasia, senior Sean Flaherty, senior Tyler Patricus, and sophomore Mike Hurm. So why am I telling you this? I want to explain to you the importance of leadership. I have learned throughout my years at this school that it is so encouraged to help others to get better, help them when they need it, and allow them to know that you are always there for them. You see, God has a plan for us, whether we are aware of it or not. Sometimes He places you in positions that you don't expect or don't want to be in. We found out this year that our beloved school is closing. What does that mean for me? I can't come back and surprise my mom while she's teaching, or come and see Lorenzo Jackson drop 40 points a game as a senior. My sister won't have the chance to be one of the best volleyball players in Sacred Heart history, and she was well on her way. My mom lost her job. My dad won't be able to continue to coach players like Brendan Carberry, Nick Crociati, and Luke Buckley, and help them develop like he did for me. I could see all these things, and it hurt. It really hurt me. It did. But I also recognized it was hurting you, and you, and you. It was hurting people like Mr. Hoganson, who loves this place inside and out. It was hurting students like Joe and Bella Spacek, who get to see their older sibling graduate from Sacred Heart, but are forced to change schools next year. It was hurting faculty, such as Mr. Olson, who was always on campus teaching, coaching, doing the scorers table. He, like many others, gave everything to the school. It was hurting that junior that can't spend his senior year with all of his friends, and that freshman who was just getting started on her journey. Everybody was hurting. Fortunately, the leaders before me taught me and prepared me for this moment. As senior class As a senior, you have students looking up to you. And I know this because we were all freshmen, sophomores, and juniors at some point. And Luke Herringstein, you can ignore the last one. It is hot in these tuxes. In this time of heartache and pain, our class needed to step up. I decided that the thing that gave me strength, prayer, would also help others. So I led prayer gatherings in the chapel. I was silent for years, learning how to lead, so that when the time came, I could be vocal and make an impact on the lives of others. I thought as a senior, I would be leading on the field, but I learned quickly that being a leader goes way beyond just sports. Class of 2020, whether or not you have been silent until now, today is the day that you were opened up to the real world. Now it is time to be vocal, especially with all of the division and challenges we face in the world. Be a leader. Make an impact. We lost a lot this year, but one thing we didn't lose was our whitewater rafting trip. Some of you remember beating Miss Svensson and Mr. Rowell in volleyball. while others remember Rain walking around with his forbidden AirPods in. What I remember most is something that Shane said. For those of you not on the trip, Shane was the guy in charge. He didn't look very wise, and to an extent wasn't, but he said one thing that I think we all should learn from. After going over the safety precautions, all the boring stuff, we boarded the rafts. As we began to take off, right before reaching the rapids, Shane told everyone in our raft that sometimes in life, it's just better to let go. We've all heard this year, more than most. We found out our school was closing, then had the last few months of Sacred Heart stripped away from us due to COVID-19. We lost our last sports season, the last award ceremony, the last senior week, etc. Then we dealt with quarantine and social distancing. Hanging out after school turned into FaceTime calls. End of the year parties turned into end of the year group chats and Zooms. Life was very different. Everything was turned upside down. Take all of that pain, anger, sadness, frustration, and as Shane said, let it go. Today marks a new chapter. Today marks the day that you either become a leader or you grow as one. Before Mr. Crossman and Mr. Dwyer fall asleep, I'll leave you with this. They say that heroes get remembered, but legends never die. What if I told you that that quote is incorrect? What it should really be is that legends get remembered, but saints never die. Take everything you've learned from Sacred Heart, and wherever your road goes, be a saint. Be kind. Help others, and be a leader. Today, we're not just graduating a senior class, we're graduating an entire high school. I thank everyone again for everything. Congratulations to the class of 2020, and similar to the words of the great Kobe Bryant, Saints out.